Hey folks, Doc here. Yes, I'm doing the cell phone camera thing again. I'm going to be shopping for a new camcorder video camera thing soon. After a while, it's just like, you know what, I don't want to have to buy new batteries and this and that when I can just get some newer, better technology. In the meantime, you guys need some videos. So I'm just on a bit of a road trip in my 2005 Subaru Legacy Outback XT Turbo Wagon. I love this car. I call her Ruby Sue. She's pretty. Anyways, I'm just on a bit of a road trip here. It's probably 170 miles, I'm gonna say, one way to go pick up something I've been seeking for a while. And you know, I don't have my truck and I don't have my trailer, so obviously it's not very big. So I'm gonna go ahead and let you guess what it is. I picked up another thing that sort of falls into a similar category. I'm gonna say 3 or 4 days ago. And I'm going to show them off in the same video just to, you know, give you kind of a bit of eye candy. So anyways, I'm just doing this this little cruise, and I'm going to end up, I'm going to say probably just a short drive from the border at Buffalo, New York. Can't cross the border because COVID, but yeah, pretty close. Anyways, bit of a cruise. And I'll check in with you guys in a few hours when I return home with my prize. Cheers! Okay, so I'm back home again. That was a fun day today. I've got today's score in the back of the car, and I've got yesterday's score in the back of the truck. Well, I shouldn't say yesterday, it's actually been a few days it's been sitting in the back of the truck. So I'm going to pull them both out and show them to you. Okay, cool score number 1. Look at that, eh? This is a 1929 Briggs and Stratton FH. With a kickstart. Factory kickstart. These things are cool as hell. All iron, of course. 4-stroke gasoline, and rated at a whopping half horsepower at 1800 RPM. Let's just see if I can get you a half decent picture of the tag here. Telling you to check the oil level periodically and the model and the serial number. I had to run the serial number to determine that it was a 1929. Cool as hell. And it's not stuck, it does roll over. Let me see if I can kind of do this while I'm filming. Stand on the platform there and not fall over. So it does roll over. Kickstart does work. Preliminary kind of inspection tells me that it's making some kind of spark. I don't know if it's strong enough yet. I'll probably have to have a look at the points, but it does appear to be making some kind of spark. And it does feel like it has compression, although I haven't done any actual compression tests. But I think it's got the bones there. As I'm kicking it over, the exhaust rocker moves back and forth, indicating valve action. Which kind of brings me to an interesting point on these things. The camshaft has one lobe on it, and that's for the exhaust. So there's the push rod for the exhaust, and the rocker arm, and the exhaust valve and spring. This is the intake valve, and the engine vacuum opens that valve. So as the cylinder, or as the piston drops in the cylinder, creates a vacuum, it actually sucks this valve open and lets in the charge from the carburetor. This is the intake tube, all the way down to that silly ass looking little carburetor. That little thing right there. So you can see the governor arm kind of sticking out of here. This, the governor assembly, if you want to call it that. The mechanism is within that bell there. Very, very basic in nature. Tiny little carburetor. Look at that thing, eh? And just like Briggs all the way up into the 80s and 90s and beyond, it just pulls fuel from below it with a little diaphragm check valve type of mechanism. This is actually the fuel tank right here on the base. The engine bolts to the fuel tank. So this is where you check your oil level, and that's where you check and top up fuel. And sends the charge all the way up that pipe. This pipe here is the air intake tube and leads to, you're gonna like this, the choke. Yep, there it is. Little choke. Pretty cool, eh? Kind of wish there was an original muffler on here, but there isn't. I can source reproduction mufflers, so I'm gonna have to try and do that. This engine could have been used on a washing machine, or it could have been used for other possible purposes, but there's the flat belt pulley on it there. And just this kickstart, I love this thing. You've got a sprocket down here that runs off the pedal, or rather takes up the chain tension, and up top here, this whole arm assembly just pulls the thing through. And if I can do this kind of one-handed and off kilter, that ratchets like a bicycle sprocket. Neat, huh? Anyways, it appears to be more or less all here. More or less all original. Although if you look really, really closely, you can see this arm has been brazed. And these nuts here probably are not stock. And that nail where there should be a cotter pin or some other fixing device. But other than that, she looks pretty good. There's the crankcase breather tube. And like I said, I ran the numbers, and this is a 1929. The exhaust valve lash, this is really cool. You set the valve lash by loosening this screw, and the whole rocker arm assembly will just move up and down. This post will rise up and down in the bore, and you set it with a feeler gauge, and you just lock this sucker down again and get your lash from there. Okay, so that's pretty cool. I can't wait to get this thing hopping and bopping and showing off its incredible 1/2 of 1 horsepower at 1800 RPM. But in the meantime, let me grab cool score number 2 from out of the car. Look at this beauty. Look at that. That is a Maytag Model 92 two-stroke washing machine engine. These things were built between 1927 and 1937. I haven't dated this thing yet, and I'll explain why in a minute. And it's a little two-stroke engine, and I believe Maytag rated these at 3/4 of a horsepower. Again, just absolutely mind-boggling oomph, right? And back in the day, before electricity came to the modern home, and the housewives got tired of doing all this junk manually, Maytag, and this wasn't their first one, said let's start producing gasoline engines to run the washing machines with. And this was one of the ones that they produced. And you would have a belt and pulley going off to the washing machine, and this thing would be sitting in the house, probably in the basement. The exhaust theoretically pointed outdoors somewhere. I can only hope so, because you know how many housewives died of carbon monoxide poisoning doing the wash. And away you go, put, 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 and your laundry gets done. Incredible technology, eh? So this is pretty cool. You can see the factory muffler there. Well, it's definitely seen better days. It's kind of bent and twisted and stuff, but it's there. And as we look at the spark plug, this little flap here, cool as all heck, is the kill switch. So let me just flip you around over this way. And this little rod here would be your kill, your interrupt. You pull the rod, it shorts out the spark plug. Amazing, eh? No spark, no run. And this little deal here is the choke. And the most rudimentary of carburetor type systems here, I haven't dug into this too far, but this is labeled open and close. And I guess that's just a very basic fuel metering valve. It probably amounts to, you know, a jet basically. I'm going to look inside when I go to clean all this up and check it out and see what they've done. I don't know if there's a fixed jet and this just acts as a pure shutoff to that jet, or if this is the jet itself and the needle very simply closes it, but that's free and that works. And This is a two-stroke, so this would be your gasoline tank, and you would mix oil with the gasoline. And my research seems to indicate that at the time they specified mixing motor oil with the gasoline, not a two-stroke oil or some sort of variant like that, but actual engine oil. Got to do a little bit more research to find out what's involved with that, but that's what I've read so far. Now, I mentioned that thing about not being able to date the engine, and here's why. From what I could tell, the serial number is supposed to appear etched or stamped or otherwise on what would be the points cover here, and it's been painted over, so I don't know if I'm gonna have to strip some paint. The other thing that I'm seeing here though is there is a set of numbers on this flywheel, and it says 571844. That could be the serial number, and I'll have to do a little bit of homework to find out. There's casting numbers or parts numbers on various things. There's a set of numbers right there, S233, S233, I think that's it. I think that's just a mark. And it says S243 on the kickstart pedal. Let's look at that kickstart pedal compared to the Briggs. So back over to the Briggs for a second, we see that they've got this whole chain drive mechanism and you know, a ratcheting sprocket. And on the Maytag, let me just kind of push this thing down a little bit. You can see that it's got a great big gear on the pedal, and then there's just a ratcheting sprocket on, excuse me, the crankshaft. So it does have compression and it does roll over. So let me do the kickaroo on this. Yep. It definitely feels like it has compression. Now the fellow that I bought this one from, the fellow that I bought the Briggs from didn't know much about it, he just kind of had it. The fellow that I bought this Maytag from, his father had a whole bunch of really cool old engines, antiques, including a whack of hit and miss stuff. And I shot some pictures and I shot some videos while I was touring his little storage container, and I'm going to include those in this video because honestly his collection was fantastic. Anyways, his father had all these engines, and he used to show them off at agricultural fairs and stuff like that, and just set up the engines and just kind of let them run for people to see. Hot damn, this guy has got ancient engines for days. Hit and miss stuff, beautiful. This is incredible. I've like found Mecca. Wow. Just wild. Just wild. I wish I had a few grand on me. So this engine has run, but it hasn't run in quite a while. And I'm pretty reasonably sure it can be made to run again. So obviously I've got to test for spark, yada 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 yada, and figure out what mixture it requires and feed it the appropriate mixture, and you know, hopefully I can get this thing running, because that would be cool as hell. Okay, you know what? Kicks and giggles. Nice. She runs. Now that is brilliant. The Maytag runs. What you didn't see is I put the camera down and I thought, you know what, I'll give it a quick shot down the intake and, you know, see if I can get it to pop. The part that you didn't see is I fired a bunch of oil down the intake first and cranked it over a couple of times just to get a little bit of lube in there, because of the fact that I'm obviously not feeding it the mixed gasoline that it needs. So don't panic, I didn't just do that dry, but I had to see if I'd get a pop out of it. And I did. That's fantastic, eh? So I am going to definitely clean that thing up. I don't really want to say restore, but I'm going to replace some stuff that needs replacing. I'm going to try and get another repro muffler or something like that, I suppose. Clean it up, degrease it, do a little bit of research on it. Ultimately, probably mount it to a nice platform and just show it off and play with it now and then. I'm not going to actually do anything with it per se. I just am really stoked about having that piece of small engine history. That is amazing. Nice. Okay, so that was fantastic. I am absolutely stoked about these two little engines. Both of them being in the neighborhood of 90 years old. and one of them proving to be a runner, you know, straight off the hop. You know, might have to do a little bit of cleaning of the internals, a little bit of carburetor work. It's probably stopped up by now, but you know, it ran a couple of cycles, probably 5 or 6 cycles on a quick shot of ether, so that is just amazing, and I'm sure the Briggs will come around too without too much trouble. So that's fantastic. I'm stoked. Thanks for watching. See you next time.